Hello, welcome to another episode of the Type1 Radio Lounge with me, Sonic. We're joined by Swami.
Namaste and blessings. I welcome everyone with great love and great respect from the heart of all.
And we're also joined by Kira.
Hello, listener friends from Winchester, Virginia.
And we have the pleasure of being joined this evening and today by Jim Sanders. Hello, Jim.
Hi, everybody. It's awesome to be here.
Apologies from Stephen Fajcik. They are partying tonight, so they send their love. So Jim, you are pretty much one of the original Think dudes. Are you not?
Yeah, I guess so, eh? It's been a long time now, so.
Up there in Winnipeg,
yeah.
You have a fellow Think dude, Jake Coatsy. Have you been friends for quite some time before?
No. You know, it's kind of interesting because I've always lived here. I'm from here, but Jake's from South Africa, and after my first trip to Peru in 2005, I kind of came back and my whole world had been turned upside down. And before then, I had been quite, I really come out of like an anarchist activist scene. And I didn't really think too much about, spiritual concepts or consciousness and stuff. And then I came back and I was kind of just, trying to see what the internet could provide me to try to make sense of what I experienced in Peru. And I was, I would scour the internet, and I found Jake's blog about the world. And he had some crazy old videos with about Atlantis and mushrooms and things. And I was like, hey, a little different, but kind of got it kind of similar to what I was feeling. So and I noticed on his website, I remember, he had this accent, so I had no idea where he's from. And then in a very rare, because I rarely do this, but I actually sent him an email saying, hey buddy, I like your stuff, and then it came out in our emails that he as well lived in Winnipeg, so and he happened to be literally 3 blocks away from where I lived.
Wow.
And so that was perhaps the first big sync that brought us together, and I think that was maybe 2006 or so. 2006 or 7 that happened. So yeah, and that was, for both of us, we were kind of in the same, we were both coming up from a different place, but we were both in the same kind of transformational shift into more of the sync that we kind of work with now. So, but yeah, so it was quite a magical introduction.
It's a small world after all.
But a similar thing happened with myself and the 2 people that aren't here tonight. I don't know whether you've heard of a guy called Freeman Fly. He does a show called The Freeman Perspective. He set up a social network site called The Friendship Agenda. And so I signed up and then found Stephen Fajcik lived about a mile away, and now we do the show together, which is brilliant.
Yeah, no, it's kind of, we find each other.
Yeah. So you'd already been to Peru before you delved into the sinkhole.
Yeah, I kind of. The thing is, in Peru, I was introduced to ayahuasca and the plants, but I don't live in the jungle. I live in the urban jungle. and I'm immersed. My world is, the digital world, pop culture, movies. I was already, quite into it all. So it's kind of, to me, this is, what we do as Think is no different than what perhaps, my teacher Juan Flores does in the jungle with plants, right? So, it's like kind of reading spirit, reading the environment, and learning from it. So, so it just
with
seems
a wider view.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it kind of seemed to just become a natural thing. I mean, in the early days, it was much more for me. I was much more private about it, and it's funny because in the early days, I kind of realized it wasn't necessarily the most acceptable way of looking at the world in some of my circles and stuff. So it's funny though, because now it's kind of like, I have all these friends and people that, that aren't on the internet doing Think movies and stuff, but they use the word Think and they talk about it, and they might not think about where they picked it up, but it came from us.
It's filtered through into the main.
Oh, totally.
So you just mentioned there your teacher Juan Flores.
Yeah.
I watched your chapter 1, the full 45 minutes yesterday.
Great.
And what a beautiful little movie you made there, my friend.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we went down there 9 years ago, kind of more to make a film about, I made a film in Bolivia called The Real Thing, that was about the drug war and the indigenous people and the cocaleros, and it was much more kind of a radical, angry film, but at the same time I was definitely impacted by, I've always been a student of social movements, and I was kind of, interested in what gave these indigenous people their persistence and power and in their social movements, and I noticed the relationship with plants and spirituality, and I went to a Jesuit school. I rebelled against my Catholic upbringing and religion and stuff. So unfortunately, religion made me dismiss spirituality, right?
Yeah.
But then, I met Juan, and but I was obviously searching for it, and he kind of introduced me to, a form of like anarcho-spiritualism. So it seemed to take hold, kind of thing. So yeah, and I went down there to make a film about the impact of consuming and globalization, right? And now 9 years later, I have this kind of mystical story that I'm telling in chapters. So, but I had to go through 9 years of ayahuasca to kind of reach the point where I felt I was ready to start sharing the story.
And so, how did you initially meet Juan then?
Well, I'd been in the Amazon for like around 8-9 months with my wife back in 2002, 2003, and that's when I made the Bolivia film. And then I first heard about ayahuasca down there, but I quickly realized I wanted to find the real dude, I was like a real shaman, a real healer. And then I came back, and then someone introduced me to the book, Jeremy Narby's book, The Cosmic Serpent, DNA and the Origins of Knowledge. And I read that, and that book is a really amazing book because it's pretty simple, but it really bridges between the rational mind and it just kind of spoke to my sensibility, because he basically was like, an anthropologist down there who, wanted to work with the Ashaninkan people, and, he realized that most, the amount of indigenous knowledge that's used in modern Western medicine is massive. But when the scientists ask the indigenous people how they got that knowledge, they say the plants told them and then we dismiss it. So it was like this paradox of the foundation of medicine, right? And so that resonated with me. So, and he said, I don't believe these guys, but I'm going to be open to them. So he went down that road. And for me, that kind of, I was like, well, I don't necessarily believe that world, but I'm going to be open to it. And so, yeah, I read that book. And so I then contacted Jeremy. And then he said I could phone him, and I phoned him, and I was like, introduced me to the right guy. And he's like, well, you should go see Juan Flores. And then that's how I went down there. And then, you know, basically Juan was like, I've been waiting for you, you know, so.
So is Jeremy the guy sort of in the latter part of the film?
Yeah.
Where there's sort of an old movie of him doing ceremony. And that's funny because he talks in the interview in the movie. I interviewed him in New York in 2008. But he actually, when he met Juan in 1998, he filmed it and he made a film, but he never released it. So he gave me the footage. So that shot of him and Juan in 1998 is him, you know, taking ayahuasca with Juan for the first time. So it was kind of gold to get this historical footage, because it was Jeremy that actually helped. It's in the movie, but it's Jeremy that helped Juan get the money to first found its center. So and what an amazing place!
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I mean it's otherworldly. It's, you know, a boiling river.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's 98 degrees Fahrenheit.
Well,
and you know,
in the river.
Yeah, and, you know, and the ceremony there is quite magical.
Does that keep out many of the sort of you know, the hot water? Does that keep out many of the predators? So it's,
you know, the piece of Mayan Tiaku is the piece that Juan has negotiated with the spirits of the place, right? So it's there's a book, Robert Tyndall wrote a book called The Jaguar That Roams the Mind, and a lot of it's about Juan Flores. And Juan tells a story about how when he first, you know, found Mayan Tiaku, he had been, you know, searching for it for 30 years, and then he finally found the place. He then, you know, the keeper of the animals, like the master of the forest, is a spirit, and it comes to him in a human form, comes to him in a jaguar form, then turns into a human. And Juan asks permission, he gets permission. So, I mean, this is, you know, this is the world that we're entering here, right? So,
right.
But, you know, after 9 years, I'm a believer. But, you know, so there's like, and he even talks about in the movie, there's that big snakehead, the Yakumama, the guardian of the place. So there's nothing bad ever happens there, right? So no animals come and bite people. No one, you know, there's a magical piece. I mean, he's the real deal.
You know what really
Jim,
strikes me as incredibly interesting is how you were able to use the ayahuasca to overcome this Jesuit upbringing, which is what turned you away from your own spiritual path, and now you're back on track. Because I myself, I've gone through this similar spiritual journey, but I haven't used ayahuasca to do it. But the plants talk to me too. But you needed it, so that's why it was there for you.
Yeah, you know, I was a very, like, I've always been I was into social justice very young, right? And I was full of rage. Like, I used to be in black bloc streets of D.C. fighting riot police, you know, just total, that was my activism, right? And, you know, I mean, I think it's part of the process, but I'm still the same person. I'm still the activist, but I think I'm obviously a spiritual activist, which in my view is kind of going to the source. But I mean, definitely, if people like the people that know me, that have been close to me, that have seen me go from, the raging anarchist to who I am now, which is a totally different person, yet the same. It's a testament to the plants,
I
well,
gotta
and to
tell you
yourself as well.
Pardon me?
And to yourself as well.
Well, of course. I mean, I've had to be, committed to it. So.
Mm-hmm.
From this Swami's point of view, the opportunity to share some time and space with you today, and in the Eastern traditions, today is called Guru Purnima, which is the day we celebrate the masters we've had the opportunity to study with and who have changed our lives with what they know and what they've been through and what they benefit our lives with. So to have someone from the Mesoamerican culture interacting with someone from the India culture, and then with, it's just, I don't know, it's a very cool, interesting little sync there.
I love it. That's what I like. Yeah, we did ceremony last night, so it was a beautiful thing.
So is one sort of training you up to in the tradition then?
Oh yeah, I mean I'm a full-on practicing ayahuasquero. I've got students. There's a huge community here. There's many of us. It's quite. Our whole vision is to open a center here actually. So Juan would spend 6 months a year here and then 6 more in the jungle. But his real vision is I think he really feels that the next level of his work and our work together will be here in Winnipeg or Manitoba. And yeah, I mean it's I do 1 or 2 ceremonies a week, and we've got hundreds of people, and it's growing quite massively. So there's probably 8 practicing ayahuasqueros or students of his that are my friends that live here. And we have our own ceremony space, and Juan's been here. This will be his 6th visit. We're bringing him back this summer.
What I really liked about the film was that there was a real reverence for the whole process, and it wasn't trying to sell ayahuasca at all.
No, we barely touch on it.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like it's a side note.
It's like that's the ayahuasca films are a dime a dozen, and I don't want to. This is not ayahuasca is just an element, and I'd rather tell a story, right? And not kind of give all the points and everything. I'd rather tell a story and be something beautiful. We also, wanted to be light and and not overly heavy. These are all things I've kind of learned from the medicine itself, right? So, and that's for me, what's interesting is there's this story of this indigenous man basically making a pilgrimage to Canada, and to connect, to help bring the medicine, unite it with the indigenous people here and stuff. So, my primary audience for that film are the indigenous people of Canada, because that's kind of who I want to serve and facilitate this kind of exchange with South America. So, those relationships are ancient, and they're I think they're being rekindled now. So that's kind of there's, if you notice, the very first opening scene of the film, Juan's at this sacred site, and that's in Manitoba here. And I remember I'd been down in Proof. I'd been there like 2 days, and I was like, "You should really come to Manitoba." And he goes, "I would love to," right? And I'm like, "Oh, And then, not knowing that he had never gone anywhere, and he had been invited many times. And then on the last night, he kind of gave me a bunch of ayahuasca. He's like, "You should take this up for my trip," right? I'm like, "Okay." And I came back, and then like a year later, you know, and so I came back, and it gave me the impetus to reach out to the elders here, and I started reaching out to people, and you know, they were like, well, if you want to bring Juan, you got to Sundance. So I started kind of integrating into the culture here. And then he came in 2006 to this gathering, and that was the beginning of the relationship. And then in 2009, you know, over my years of befriending the elders and the people here, the keepers of the sacred sites here, there's a site here that's actually, not many people know about it, but it's considered by the indigenous people of North America as their like most sacred site. And Heritage Canada has fenced it off with a barbed wire fence, and it's totally hidden. And I had gotten the key to the place, and so I went there with Juan and some friends, and we did ceremony, and that's where that interview is. And as soon as I walk in there, he tells me, he goes, "It's important for you to realize that I'm from here." He's like, "Now I'm home." So basically, why he comes to Manitoba is that the origins of his people are from here, right? Mm-hmm. And he's basically, his pilgrimage has gone beyond Peru to bring him to the source of where he's from. Wow. So that's more of the deeper mystery of, I mean, that'll come out in other parts of like other chapters in the next chapter. Mm-hmm. But that kind of, you know, that kind of blew me away and made more sense of why he wants to come here so much.
And so is that fairly close to Winnipeg? Yeah,
it's around 2 hours east from here. Mm-hmm. So it's Manitowabe, which translates as where the Creator sits. And it's interesting because then I asked him, I was like, well, you know, up here they call it Manitowabe, where the Creator sits. And then if you ask, and I was like, well, do you have Juan's Ashaninkan? I'm like, do you have an Ashaninkan word for this place? And he goes, yes, we call it Pawa. Pawa means creator of all things. So basically, he has his own word for this place, which matches the word that the indigenous people here have. And, you know, my rational mind was like, okay, I'll believe it now, you know. And which is interesting, which even gets crazier because, I mean, this is where the mystery is great, because then we have the Manitoba Legislative Building, which my friend Frank Albo is who you should have on your show sometime, is a Cambridge-trained student of architecture, and he's revealed that that's the legislature's most complete replica of King Solomon's temple on the planet, and it's like this the height of Masonic architecture, and it's kind of something that Jake and I have riffed on a lot. And so, you know, early on I was, well, that can't be a coincidence that, you know, the indigenous people have the similar site 2 hours away. So.
I watched Frank's little video that you've got on your Vimeo.
The Astana mystery.
Yeah. And Astana looks like a most bizarre place.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
But for a while, I thought that either you or Jake must work at that building because you kept posting Instagram pictures of it.
Well, it's a beautiful building. It has there's this pool of the Black Star. The acoustics are just magical. You know, it's a temple, right? Sure, our government's there, but it's a temple, right? So, you know, we use the temple. We sacralize it. You know, we don't fear it, and we use it. So I don't go there as much, but I used to go there the day after ceremonies and go into the pool and sing a song or something like that. And you know, we love to walk around our city and just kind of observe and see what magical things unfold, and lots of things happen there.
I noticed the little 42 sink in Tomkiri.
You saw that?
Yeah. When you picked one up from the airport and you're sort of driving away, and there's is it 42 street or highway or something like that as you drive?
Oh, you know what? Actually, I haven't seen that yet. That's great. Okay, there's another one in there too. That's great.
Oh.
Yeah, that's one of the main routes through Winnipeg is Route 42. Yeah. And you know what's funny? I just noticed today is a Manhattan henge, right? Where the sun lines up with the streets of Manhattan.
I like it.
And it's tonight, and it's actually, I just noticed, it's actually on 42nd Street that it happens. I thought that was pretty tight.
And then the opposite direction surely will be the supermoon.
Yeah, I know. And there's the next 3 full moons this summer are all supermoons. It's crazy. And then there's the World Cup ending tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, I can't hear the World Cup without thinking about the Ayahuasca Cup. So, it's and I remember once asking Juan what ascension was. And he goes, ascension is a strong cup. And so I just keep thinking of that. It's like we're all being fed a big cup.
Are there different ceremonial roles for men and women in the ayahuasca tradition?
I think yes and no. I mean, I think it kind of has come out of. It seems to be, a little bit more male oriented, but I think there's it's shifting, and Juan is incredibly equal and open, and I'm probably even more. So, two of the main ayahuasqueros that I work, the ayahuasqueros are women that I kind of work with. And, they run their own ceremonies as well, right? And, I have 2 daughters, and I'm teaching them, right, Chloe? Yeah, my daughter just had her first ceremony a couple weeks ago. So,
my son had his first Inedia or sweat lodge ceremony when he was about 5. So it's a good age. I've seen babies in sweat lodges too, but it's a good age to start them.
Chloe, I have 2. I have Etienne, she's 6, and Chloe's 8. Chloe, I remember she did a sweat lodge when she was 8 months and cried the whole time. It was crazy. But I mean, the thing with ayahuasca is you shouldn't. A kid should be closer to 10 before they drink.
Right.
And you obviously give them a little tiny bit, but hopefully in 5 years she'll be helping me.
Interesting. Well,
I'm curious, Jim, is there I come from a meditative tradition where there are certainly entheogenic plants utilized in India, but not to that degree. We don't, it's kind of odd. I get a lot of people who want to know our stance on the use of entheogens. And from the lineage that I represent, we say it's nature, it's God, it's a plant. Experiment with your own consciousness. Learn about it. Roll around in it, get it all over you, and then figure out if it's something that's for you or something you don't need to do again.
Yeah, I love that. That's exactly it. So
but do not make it a party drug. That thing. Keep it reverent. Use it with respect, and under the guidance of someone who knows what the hell they're doing, so that you don't bring in the discord that can come in vibrationally or subtly amongst people who are opening up to new levels they just don't know anything about yet, And it's that way also in just the pure meditative practices as well, These are only gateways into what is permanent, infinite, and eternal.
Exactly. It's actually just, the truth is just a simple concept.
Yes.
And it's just there's tools for us to learn to accept that simple concept. So I'm totally with you, and I love that because I love, I just think there's all these different paths, and I'm more, I don't judge people, but I will gauge someone from where they're at on how much they accept that simple concept of non-dualism. kind of. I mean, I just can't see separation of anything. So, and that's obviously
right. Because once you get to the top of the mountain,
yeah.
Once you get to the top of the mountain, you can look back and see there was never a mountain at all. You just thought there was.
Exactly. Yeah, you know.
And then you're just there. It's just like it's no big deal. It's completely natural. Everything's going on exactly as it should. And we can get worked up about it if we choose, or we can just watch the play unfold.
It's a movie.
Yep.
You know, exactly. It's like, you know, some people know it's a movie, some people don't. You know, but so eventually the lights turn on and we all realize it's a movie. So, you know, and I think the plants thing is, you know, I totally agree. It's like, why would I discriminate against various plants, you know, and we're always everyone ingests plants. None of us could even do yoga without breathing in what plants give us. So,
exactly.
You know, like, it's funny because I don't do much yoga, but I have gone to do Ashtanga with Jake because he does a lot more of it. And that's totally what came to me. I was like breathing, and I kept thinking, what am I breathing? I'm breathing, I'm entering into balance with the plants that are breathing with me. Like, it was...
Right. The oxygen comes from what?
Exactly. So, yeah, that's great.
I remember listening to your Red Ice interview with Henrik.
Oh my goodness.
And
that's old, eh?
Pardon?
That's an old interview.
Yeah.
It was like crazy.
And something that you said really stuck with me, and since I've thought about a lot. You said that this is the world of the plants.
Well, exactly. No, I mean, and this is the world of the plants, and you know, I mean, it's obviously very clear. You know, I just, you know, getting rid of this like human arrogance, that human agency is driving everything, is quite helpful. And you know, I'm a servant of the plants, and I mean, if you ask Juan, he's like okay, go for it. He's like, the gods are in the plants, right? So I mean, I think that's kind of the deeper mystery of it, and I think, you know, yeah, I mean, in his world, go on.
It's the orientation of creation as the creator or divinity is completely imbued and filled, you know, within creation. It's not seeing the creator as separate from creation. And plants also, you know, give us that pathway to communicate with the mother, with the earth, because they're so close and so rooted, and they're rooted in her. So they teach us that too. Yeah,
you learn to become plants.
Well, and it's so cool to become a witness to the entirety of the system. Each part playing its role. No need to set up all these fences and barriers and adversarial concepts. Sit back and watch. Everything does its job if you stay out of its way and keep your brain to a minimum, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, over the years I have, you know, less theories and like to be more simple and, you know, try not to think about things too much.
So have you studied film, or have you just picked it up?
Yeah, no, I just picked it up and taught myself, yeah, you know, it's just a self-taught thing that I got really into, and then over the last maybe 6-8 years, I've also kind of been involved in teaching youth and stuff, and so a lot of my contracts I actually work with like youth at risk or Aboriginal youth, and I teach documentary and digital storytelling and stuff like that. So I just kind of immerse myself fully in it, and the whole sync video thing it just speaks. It's just something I just love so much. Like, there's nothing more than I love than editing a sync video. As strange as they are, they I just love it. So.
And with the sync videos, have you got like a storyboard of?
Oh no! It's like the way that Jake and I make a movie is, we get like a really small little nugget of a sync or an idea, and he's like, this is a good idea. I'm gonna go with that, and so he usually includes like an actor or two and a little bit of a sync, and then he'll start watching everything they're ever in, and he watches it all, like start to finish, and he starts taking his notes, and he's kind of like the mad scientist about this thing, and then he does, he logs everything, and then he just starts, plopping in, the time codes for the various clips that kind of sync to each other, right? And increasingly, the real purpose is to not really go into it with any agenda and just let the sync speak for itself. If it's
let it reveal itself.
Let it reveal itself. If it's something to do with I don't know, doorknobs, well, that's suddenly there's everyone talking about doorknobs. Well, you're gonna do doorknobs, and so and that's the process, is let it reveal itself and just go with it, right? So then he puts it all together on a script of all the time codes, and then sends that to me and gives me all the movies. And what's kind of magical when we both do it is that I don't even know at all what he's kind of getting at, and I just start plopping all the clips, and then I start seeing things myself here and there, and I just start putting them together, and then it becomes something so beyond him or I. And and for us, it's like every time we watch our sync videos, we see new things, and some of the most powerful syncs in our sync videos, neither of us intended. It was like, oh my goodness, look at that.
Right, yeah, you couldn't have written this stuff.
No, and that's the whole point, right? That's
right.
That's the whole point of it. So, and they become, there are oracles, right? So they become these incredible teaching tools. Like we learn, right now we're doing Star Mummy 3, and Star Mummy was the first one we did together, and we did number 2, and then this is 3, and we're learning so much about it. The teachings, the revelations, just because we spend a lot of time, a bit every day or every couple of days, we're walking around having our coffee, talking about it, right? And it's funny because probably if we have the 42 sync, I think this idea that Earth is a table for two, and it's kind of, I feel it kind of defines our relationship, because the two of us doing it seems to take something else beyond, so yeah, it's a really strange process, and there's no storyboards, though we have a loose idea, and there's something so fun about it, So I'm working on Star Mummy 3 right now, and I love it. And we haven't done one in over a year, so.
Yeah, I just watched a few of them today. The 420 Kong. That was a really.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious. Well, this is funny because yesterday we just went to see Dawn of the Planet of the Apes with Andy Serkis. And he's born 420. He plays King Kong, right? So he's one of the 420. So yeah, that was yesterday.
So what did you think of the movie?
Well, he plays Caesar, is it?
Yeah, he plays Caesar.
Yeah.
The movie is actually decent, I mean, we see everything, and, I obviously appreciate things on different levels.
Mm-hmm.
On a on a movie standpoint, I'm actually quite critical a lot because a lot of it's crap, right? You know, narrative. You see it all. You start to like, but it was pretty darn good, you know. And the graphics and their way of depicting the apes and the emotion, I think it's one of the better movies I've seen in a long time. So it was quite good. And you know, there's obviously some great syncs in it. You know, there's a 42 sync, and you know, for us at the same time, we made one called Moon Key.
Yep.
And that, you know, it plugs into the whole Moon Key thing, and we have the full moon right now and the super moon, so we're all, and we do, you know, we've been doing ceremony and movie, like part of our ritual is to, either we used to do a lot ceremonies on the Thursday night, and then we'd go see an opening movie on the Friday. Or we see the opening movie on Friday, and then we do ceremony Friday night. And we've really, you know, this has been going for 5 years. We really merge in the ayahuasca ceremony and the movie watching, and it seems to kind of increase the magic of the experience. And
I think Jake talks about that in his chapter in the Sync book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't know. He maybe did. Yeah, I did too. Like I called it.
Oh yeah, it might be both of you. Well,
yeah, we both talked about it, but yeah, it's kind of, you know, it's something that we've been at for so long that we just really feel centered about. You know, I feel it really is a special kind of merge of, you know, for me the movie is like, it's such a divine experience. It's like, you know, I feel like God is in the seat still, watching the moving screen, right? And so it's like almost like puts you in the seat of God in stillness while something else moves, and then you leave, and then you're part of the moving, and you're not the stillness. And I don't know. I just feel like we have no idea what it really is.
and
before I go down this road, I'm like, this is, you know, something mystical, profound about this whole movie matrix that's like encircled the earth that we're all like worshiping.
Most of the symbolism in movies just gets washed over people, though, doesn't it? You know, people absorb it, but they don't. You know, the subconscious gets it, but their waking does not. You know, and that's why they put so much symbolism in films.
Yeah, you know, and I think for us, it's like we've kind of flipped it, right? So, I feel we have a more two-way relationship with the film, you know, and we're not passive observers. And I don't really take to any concept that anything has power over me, right? So, and I think that's, you know, we all have that capability for freedom in that sense. So, but I agree, you know, many people are incredibly passive, and so it probably has an impact on them differently. And I think if you can increase your awareness, you know, sometimes we go to movies, and I'm sure that really bad movie, and you're like, you know what? This movie makes no sense except to me. You know, I can't see any person making sense of this movie because it's so bad. This just makes no sense to most people. But right now, to me, it makes perfect sense. As long as it's like I made this movie.
or the movie was made so you could watch it.
Yeah, it's there's something incredibly non-linear and mystical about sometimes of the movies we see. You know, that the things in there are just things that are so personal, and so, you know, everything we were just talking about leading up to the movie is in the movie. So I don't know. I think that can happen anywhere, not just in movies. It can happen in the world out there, right? So, you know, you kind of step into the role of the writer, the director, the projector, and not so much the audience.
I mean, this is just a huge improv.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Nobody's giving us the script.
Yeah.
And another one that I watched today was Think Jack Volume 2.
Oh yeah.
And the way that sort of it sort of starts off following Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And then, all these different characters crop up. Then, obviously Jack Nicholson is like Kelly Bob. Absolutely amazing.
I love that one. That was a special, and we released that on December 21st, 2012.
Yeah.
That was our in honor of the end of the world. We thought we'd make that movie. because it all started with Jack Reacher coming out that day on Samuel Jackson's birthday, which was December 21st. So we thought that was pretty funny.
December 21st is my anniversary with my husband.
Oh, nice.
We married in 2000. Yeah, and then 5 years later we had our son
on your anniversary.
What's that?
Luckily, the world did not end on your anniversary.
Yeah, and we kind of had a feeling it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Just had a little inkling that it wouldn't.
I have a feeling
here. But we, it's funny because we chose that day because it felt like a special day, and my husband's mom asked me why, and I was like, well, she's like, that's the shortest day, and I was like, yeah, but it's the longest night. And then 5 years later, on the first day of spring, we had our son. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Some good alignments there.
Yeah, and it was 2000 that we got married, so the end of the world was going to happen 12 years later. So. But it didn't.
It didn't. We're still here.
No, nothing changed that I was aware of. Nobody jumped up to the fifth dimension and became a 7-foot-tall crystalline being.
Well, I mean, I think it's been great because it's been a massive, in some level, it did exactly what it needed to do, which was increase ego death.
Yep.
It was very humbling for a lot of people. So, and that's the more humbling things that we face, the better for all of us. So.
Well, this Swami was just on Nature of Reality Radio with Andrew Fisher here a while back, and we were talking about, the big 2012, what was it? Was it anything? And was trying to explain to him that, the end of the Baktun was no different than for us on December 31st of every year. There is a moment at which it becomes January 1st of the next year. And that's what we went through. It was just a long period, a measure of time for their timekeeping system in the Mayan tradition, and began a new one, just as we begin January 1st at midnight on December 31st. It's just a marking of the passage of time, not the end of the world and blah blah blah.
Yeah, and nothing ends. So.
Yeah. Certainly could be the beginning of a new cycle.
Totally. I do think this is amazing time and amazing things are happening. I do believe in massive transformation right now. So. Yeah, I would agree.
But humans are pretty awesome all the time.
Yeah.
We just don't tend to take notice of that fact most of the time.
Yeah. That's true.
We do have much more of a potential than most of us realize, or, much more that we can do.
Well, that is actually it. I think that, is, what our potential is. And for me, that's kind of what Juan has, demonstrated to me in his human potential. And, when I go down there, I'm always just in awe of the level of knowledge that he holds, the love that he holds, and the humility at the same time is just like it's awe-inspiring. And I'm always like, wow, okay, I got some work to do.
Yeah.
You can be that, like that's possible, So it's yeah.
Well, I'm always the person who is telling people, you know what, atheism is a sane response to what you've been taught, but please do not throw it all away, because your spiritual journey is your birthright. Don't throw it away. You can reject every religion you want, but just don't throw away your own spiritual journey, because it's pretty much all you got.
Well, that's
right. I mean, you're on the ride no matter whether you like it, don't like it, dig it, identify with the left, the right, the center, the top, the bottom. You're on the ride. That's it.
Well, that's actually it, because I remember I was a bit of like an anti-colonialist activist, and atheist, but at least I'd come to the conclusion that I was agnostic, that I didn't know, right? And I had no time, in my view. I was like, I don't have time for that spiritualist stuff. I got to change the world, make it better, right? So, but what I realized that the colonialism had, was like, I could see it's impacting indigenous people here, and then even in myself that, that even my spirituality had been like kind of taken or colonized kind of thing. And so that was the next step is myself. Like, so I have my friends that are like anarchists and who want to be free and everything like that, but then they're like atheists. And I'm like, that's just like you said, that is an outgrowth of Christianity. Like, that whole concept, it's like, so it's a whole part, and then at that point when I had that realization, I was like, well, I will also be free spiritually, and it was, liberating to reach that place.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I'm happy to see it. It's a good thing.
It is a good thing, and it's interesting because I've over the years here still kind of connected to the kind of Winnipeg has quite a significant anarchist scene, and it's really changed. People have opened up to spirituality more, and that was part of my whole thing is I was in a group of activists who were working all around the time on activism, doing way too many drugs, being super paranoid and anxious and just unhealthy. And I was like, at some point, what kind of warrior am I? I'm like sabotaging myself. So and I've seen that, but I've seen a lot of people come out of it, and which is awesome. Because that to me, the anarchism is it's actually it's a spiritual thing. It's like your heart is screaming, you're yearning for like spiritual peace.
What's funny is that I've always been the spiritual person, the one who everyone's like, oh, she's so spiritual, and I'm like, we all are. But myself lately, I found myself more attracted to anarchism. Because I see that yearning for freedom, and I want that for everyone. And I see that was their path towards it, and even though, and my twin brother was always a atheist anarchist, and so
there you go.
We had this yin yang thing going. He's the artist, I'm the writer, the poet, and and so I think it's interesting how we're all coming at this thing from different angles and meeting each other, and it's beautiful. I think it's
I think it's the destiny of the earth. I think anarchism is the heavenly state, and where we can exist freely together in peace, right? And and I think it's what's happening on the planet now is my view, and it's something I've always talked about anarcho-spirituality is just like this. I remember like Juan once saying that the religion of the universe is humility, and that to me is the core belief of anarchism. And it's funny, when I was 21, I got this tattoo. I drew this drawing of like a circle A, and I was kind of like in eco-activist at the same time. So I drew these like vines around the circle into a fist above. So it's like this A with like a circle with vines and a fist, and I got it tattooed on my arm at 21. And then when I was in Peru, in my early 30s with Juan, and I'm taking ayahuasca, I looked at my tattoo and I was like, wow, this doesn't look like an anarchist tattoo. It looks like an ayahuasca tattoo. And I remember my third day down there, I'm walking through the woods, and Juan lifts his fist in the air and he goes, "Anarchia." I'm like, what is going on right now? I'm talking about anarchism in the jungle. So I don't know. I just think it's there's something really, really awesome there, and I look forward to that day that we can exist that way.
Well, for this Swami, there was a moment that came when the knee-jerk reaction to the primary perception of the word anarchy fell away, and was left with, it's not that.
No.
It's not a violent, dangerous thing. It's just free. I've been an anarchist.
Mutual respect.
I've been an anarchist this whole time, and I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
It's just been demonized in our society, hasn't it?
And doesn't it make sense why they would attack that then?
Of course.
Yeah.
And it was a constant. That's what I did. That's what I studied in university, was anarchist history, and that's what I was focusing on. And there was an actually concentrated effort to delegitimize the word anarchism. So there would be like Marxist terrorists, and they would call it anarchism, right? And historically, the effort to delegitimize the idea is well documented, and and like we said, mutual respect. So it's not just freedom; it's freedom. My freedom will not infringe on your freedom, right?
Right.
And then therefore, out of that develops a balanced, healthy relationship, right? So, and I think
the system can function flawlessly.
Yeah, but you need. That's, for me, this is where I've taken, human nature can sway different places, and what Juan has taught me is, and what he's said existed in the past is that the plants help us be humble, that allow us to then be this way, right? And I think that's something I'm trying to nurture here with my community and the people, is, the plants are kind of helping us become humble and kind of get our egos out of the way and just really enter in a very kind of anarchic relationship. So, I think it's nice to have those tools.
What I've seen for anyone who has the opportunity to sit at the feet of a master of anything, is that they find that although an enormous part of society, especially Western society, would look at this as potentially some sort of slavish mentality, when in actuality it's the slavish mentality and attachment to your preconceived notions and incorrect egoistic desires that cause the suffering in the first place. And if we can dissolve that in the presence and with the support of someone who's already accomplished it, we then too become free. It's not an overlord thing.
No.
We all need a good teacher. We all need a good teacher.
Yeah, and your teacher. Some teachers are not good teachers.
Exactly.
And some are...
Bad students get bad teachers. That's why they exist.
That's so true. Yeah.
Because no matter what path you step on, if you step on it with devotion, sincerity, and honesty, the right one will meet you on that path somewhere.
Yeah, I
Very
believe it.
true.
It's always been that way. It's that way right now, and it will always be that way.
Yeah, the sync will happen.
Yes, the sync will happen.
I think maybe we'll take a little musical break.
Perfect.
So here is David Bowie and Heroes. We are back. What a lovely tune that is. Is everybody with me?
Hey.
We're here.
So Jim,
I'm here.
I also watched a little video of you in the jungle walking on a path, singing a little Winnie the Pooh tune.
Oh yeah.
So what is the sync between you and Winnie the Pooh?
Winnie the Pooh. Well, Winnie the Pooh, I mean, so Winnie the Pooh is kind of like a sinkhole, my own personal sinkhole. We all have them. Little kind of crumbs that have been left for us in our life that you can kind of go down a bit and opens up into the infinite and into, you know, kind of revealing things to you. And, you know, Winnipeg is, Winnie the Pooh is named after Winnipeg.
Yeah, I only found that out.
I had no idea until this moment. How cool.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it was basically there was a soldier, Lieutenant Harry Colburn, who actually bought a bear in White River, Ontario, but he was from Winnipeg, and his regiment was from Winnipeg, and it was like the Rifles or something. So then they decided he kept the bear as a mascot. He was a veterinarian, and they went over to the UK in the First World War, and decided they couldn't keep the bear obviously with them on the battlefield, so he gave it to the London Zoo. And it was at the London Zoo, it was Winnipeg the bear, and the London Zoo where A.A. Milne and Christopher Milne decided to inspire the story after the bear. And so what's interesting for me, it was always a story within my family, is that my grandfather, who I never knew, who actually fought in the First World War, was injured in the First World War, and he was in a hospital, and he was sharing a bed beside E.A. Shepard, who drew Winnie the Pooh. He was the artist. And if you read the Winnie the Pooh, you'll notice on the tree that Winnie the Pooh lives, and it's actually written into the story on like the very first page of the very first book, where there's a nameplate above Winnie the Pooh's house that says Mr. Sanders or Saunders, and it's in the story. And Christian Milne's like, what does that mean? He's like, well, that's the guy that lived here before, right? That's what Winnie the Pooh says, and so that's actually named after my grandfather. So E.A. Shepard, who did he know from Winnipeg? Well, he knew Mr. Saunders, Howard Saunders, and he incorporated it into the story. So, I mean, the new Disney now, I think they've taken it out, but up until, not too long ago, Winnie the Pooh's Treehouse and all their cartoons and films had Mr. Saunders above. So it's something I've always known and been into. And then, I just kind of went deeper. And, even the philosophy of Winnie the Pooh is just kind of part of my philosophy. And that's part, I sing it in the song, it's like, Winnie the Pooh, he's got no idea what to do, but his heart's so big he always makes it through. And I think that's kind of philosophy, and the whole honey, the sweet things, and and so that at some point that song kind of came up. I remember the very first time I ever did Ceremony with Wand in Canada was in 2006, and the very first place we ever did it was at my grandfather's old log cabin, and the one vision I had was Winnie the Pooh that night. And so it's been a bit of a rabbit hole for me.
Here's an interesting little secondary sync for this day and this time. This Swami's ashram is called the Ashram on the River in the 100 Acre Woods.
Oh, nice!
Because where the place is, we have a 100 acre wildlife preserve on a river.
Yeah, that's walking through the 100 Acre Woods. Yeah, I just sang it last night. So.
And the actual 100 Acre Woods is about 20 miles away from where I am.
There you go.
And folks go to play poo sticks on the bridge, on Pooh Bridge.
Love it. Well, and that's the funny thing, because then there was, I made a little thing video called God is Pooh Bear.
Yep.
Because that's the Jack Kerouac from On the Road, one of the very last lines, he's like, "Didn't you know God is Pooh Bear?" And it just makes no sense. It's kind of funny. And the Michael Fassbender, before he kind of hit it big, shot a film called Winnipeg the Bear. Oh no, A Bear Named Winnie. And I thought it was really silly that and Michael Fassbender was born on April 20th on 4/2 and blah blah blah. So it's it's a fun little thing to play with and go into deeply in the same vein that I'm sure Winnie the Pooh would. Winnie the Pooh's just walking through the forest humming, right?
Well, sure. He just eats when he's hungry, sleeps when he's tired. He's a master, and he just doesn't know it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And he just kind of fumbles onto it all, so it's perfect. And I like it too because late in the ceremony, we might have a ceremony. It's super powerful and strong, and people too often get caught up in themselves and the seriousness of how strong it is. And I like to be able to drop like a Winnie the Pooh song because it kind of lightens the mood, and lets people know that we're all here, like it's all good and we can all laugh, and it's we don't have to take things
and not to take it too seriously.
Oh, and not
take it too seriously.
Yeah, right. And that takes time to realize that. So some people
right. Be in wonder, but don't be overwhelmed by it.
Oh, exactly. And people like to be, so it's good to kind of help them break out of it.
Yeah, I didn't realise Winnie was from or named after Winnipeg until we were just walking in Lewis, which is just a little town about 5-6 miles away, and in one of the antique shops there was on the window there was like a big history of Winnie the Pooh.
Well, we just had a visit from Prince Charles, and they took him to the Winnie the Pooh Museum.
That's great that you've got a Pooh museum.
We have a Pooh. Yeah, and I'm developing the Pooh movement. So
I had one of those this morning.
You're part of it. Welcome to the Pooh movement. Exactly, man. Yeah.
I want to give a little shout out right now to Sri Asanaji and Sri Mantraji, former residents of Winnipeg, Manitoba, now running the Chaya Garden Ashram in Cristo Rey, Belize, who are very close friends of this Swami, and they're going to enjoy this show very, very much.
That's great. And they're from Winnipeg originally?
Yeah.
How long have they been in Belize?
Let's see. In Belize, I think maybe 4 years. They were married 7707.
Okay, who is this again?
Their names are actually Lane Hoogstraten.
Yeah, I know Laney and Evan. Yeah, I know them.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm their Swami.
Well, tell them hi from Jim, so they know me.
Will do. No problem. We just did a collaborative project. I voice acted the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, and then Evan put music to it.
Oh, wonderful.
So we're kind of taking ancient text and modernizing it in a way that hopefully will help a new crowd of people get access to ancient text and understandings and inner perceptions and techniques by way of modern music. So,
very cool. Love it. That's funny. Small world.
Maybe. So, when can we expect a chapter 2?
Well, I'm hoping I'm not going to wait 9 years for chapter 2. I have a lot of material, right? Like, giving out a 45-minute thing, like, that's like nothing. That was just like a little taste. So, I've been documenting, and I document everything. So, I probably have a few chapters in the bank. I'm hoping to have I'm hoping to do a chapter a year, really, and I hope to do it, until I die. So, I really will try to get chapter 2 up by next year. So, we've kind of started on the ideas, and we'll go from there. It's just, to me, it's a story that just keeps growing, and it's just beginning, and why limit it to this kind of one film as if it's like all done? So, if I can just continue making them and putting them out there for free, that's all the better.
Have you had any little screenings?
Pardon me?
Have you had?
Oh yeah. Well, the very first screening was in June. I went down to Mayantiaku in the jungle, and I brought. They have a little generator out there, and I brought a screen and a projector and a sound system, and we screened it for Juan and everyone at the center. And it was nice because there was probably around 20 people there at the time, like from around the world. So my first screening would be for him and for the plants.
Uh-huh.
And then we came back and put it online. And what's interesting is that there's a building here in Winnipeg they've been building forever. It's called the Canadian Museum of Human Rights, and Jake and I take pictures of it a lot. And it's funny. Perhaps the mission of the building is skewed, but for us, it really is a temple. And we've been looking forward to it opening. Anyway, so it opens on September 20th. And I've actually managed to secure the main space for a September 27th screening of the film with Juan there, and maybe Jeremy Narby, but we'll see. But so that'll be our first Winnipeg screening, and it also, we have quite a, I've been quite involved in community organizing in the city for a while, so it'll kind of be, for me, it's like our chance to kind of take over the space and plant a seed of a kind of a brighter message than perhaps what they're nurturing in there right now. It's kind of pretty dark and gloomy in there.
Are you going to send Alan a copy to screen at the Sync Summit in Olympia next month?
Well, no one's asked me yet, so if someone does,
I'll get on to Alan, because that'd be a great place to.
I think it'd be perfect.
Yeah.
So if someone reaches out, I'm always welcome to share. It is. The thing is, I swim in different worlds, so for me, the sync and this is the same thing, right? So, but some people in the sync world are a little bit more into the sync and maybe into they mix it with other things. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
For me, sync is like, as much as we've been such a critical part of it, the sinkhole and all that stuff. My community is the world. It's all people. And sync is all pervasive, right? So, I really mix in many different communities and stuff like that, And, but yeah, I think it's awesome that summit's happening, and I think I'm super excited for that to see what comes out of it.
It's quite interesting that the day that it finished ended up being Towel Day.
What day?
Towel Day, from Hitchhiker's Guide.
Oh, yeah, Towel Day, May 25th, which is also Juan Flores' birthday.
Whoa!
Oh, wow.
Which is funny, too, because when he does ceremony, he always has a towel on his shoulder. Because every interclassy traveler needs a towel. And it's also funny because it's also Ian McKellen, who plays Gandalf's birthday, and it's Frank Oz, that voices Yoda's birthday. So I find that's quite a nexus of interesting sync that day. Yeah, I love it.
You couldn't make it up, could you?
Pardon me?
You couldn't make it up.
No, you couldn't. You can. That's what's the beauty about this stuff, right? You know, you just have to go to your IMDb on your app and say, look, it's there. You know. I mean, it's pretty funny because Jake and I at this point know way too many actors' birthdays. and every time, you know, we know way too many dates that have been shown in films and weird little things. And you know, sometimes it works in conversations with other people. But often at some point people are like, okay, you're really weirding me out right now. You can stop talking like that. But that's why it's so good we have each other.
Yeah. It's good to have a community around you, isn't it?
It's great to have a community, and in this work, just having one person, because in the early days, and it's still on some level we're kind of alone in the way we do it. Hey, just one sec. What's up? No, we're saving that after dinner. Okay.
Kira, this is the part where we dance.
Yeah. Yogurt or something like that. Some crackers. Okay, I'm gonna have to give me 1 sec. Talk.
See, I told you.
I gotta go. Okay, we can't have a cupcake. We gotta save that. Right? Because you haven't even had lunch.
So who you got coming up tomorrow, Kira?
What?
Tomorrow I have actually my the person who's responsible for me knowing any Choctaw, and his name is Yanash Scott, and he is he has a great YouTube channel where he teaches the Choctaw language, and so he's doing a lot of work in language preservation, which is cultural preservation in the native world. And he's a musician as well, and an interesting person. And he teaches stickball, which is kind of like lacrosse. It's a traditional Choctaw game, and so he's doing a lot of good work. And I wanted to give him a voice, and in our little radio world, I thought people would be interested in knowing what he's doing, and knowing that there's a lot of other people out there doing a lot of similar work too, and invite them at the same time.
Very cool.
So that's tomorrow. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. We did
on
a
what
test
show?
call
on
what
the
show Bridge with Kira.
Oh,
the Bridge
yeah.
with Kira.
I've listened to every episode.
I hear
you are my Ed McMahon.
Yes.
I hear there's a Swami troll that lives under the bridge.
I am the big hairy Swami troll that lives under the bridge, and there shall be no badder troll in my neighborhood.
Awesome. Yeah, I was saved. My wife just showed up, so I'm good.
Cool. We were doing a little promo for my show.
That's good.
Yeah. And do you know who's Jay got on tomorrow? Have you got anybody?
I think Jay might be interviewing this Swami tomorrow.
Oh, very interesting.
You'll have to tune in. It's a mystery, just like life.
I know.
Jim, have you come across like Ben Stewart?
No, who's that?
He does like documentary films, like Kaimatica and Esoteric Agenda. But he goes down to Peru, every now and again. Just thought that your paths may have crossed at some point. He was over there with an Australian guy called Max Egan, doing a film all about a similar thing. I don't know quite when that's going to be released though.
Well, awesome. I mean, it's amazing what Peru has done for so many people. Crazy magical place.
And I see in the film that one's sort of compiling a book of all the plants.
Yeah, I mean, that was the first time I met him in 2005, and he showed me this book of like 100 plants and all their uses and the secrets of nature and all that stuff. So I haven't seen the book since, but the thing about Juan is it's interesting. He's actually quite a world over. He's read all the sacred book texts and books and stuff, and he's not just a man of the forest, even though that's where he spends all his time. So he's also a man of books.
And how long has he been involved in all this then?
Well, he comes from a lineage of ayahuasqueros. So his parents were healers, their grandparents. I think it goes back hundreds of years. So, and
so when did that sort of shift between, it being a tradition of the forest to it's time to share this with the world? When did that happen?
That's very recent. It's very recent. That's like in the last 30 years.
Yeah. I mean, the first I heard about it was probably the early 90s. I'd heard about people going down there from up here. But, yeah, so I imagined it was recent.
The first non-Indigenous person he worked with him himself was in 1974, and he's kind of a mysterious thing because he's really well known around the world and a lot of people go there. He's also been kind of influential in teaching and starting off a lot of the more prominent ayahuasqueros Peru, but he's kind of in the back a bit and. But yeah, 1974 was the first, and he even, he talks about the plants that are reaching out to the world, and they're actually they're adapting and evolving with us rapidly. So what's interesting is, he has a lot less rules that you must follow, right, than compared to a lot of other ayahuasca places. But he would state that, these rules are kind of dissolving, and it makes sense because the whole point, the plants want to heal the world. They don't want to create barriers to the world being healed. So they're reaching out and adapting to the Western world, and he constantly talks about it's just constantly changing. The essence is there, but really his essence is love, and it just it adapts, and some people get, upset with the loss of what they see as like preserving the authentic, but I think that might be a little misunderstanding of kind of what's happening. And
well, it's always a huge issue in the Indigenous world, that balance between preserving culture and adapting to what's going on. It's always like right in Indigenous people's faces. That issue is always right there,
and it's understandable that sometimes fear of it, right, because of what's happening. But I remember one once, and I've gotten flack over the years for being so open with his stuff and with his songs and the use of the digital and the internet. But it was he made it very clear to me early on. He's like, if your heart is open, then doesn't matter if it's hearing my voice in person or on the internet or on a CD, it's the same impact.
Yes,
right.
The oral tradition. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's there's no distance from the heart, right? There's no thing, so it can speak heart to heart. So technology then is actually facilitating the spread of it, so.
That is what this Swami got sent by my guru out into the internet to do, is to talk about all of this, the whole yogic thing, the powers, the this, that, and the other thing. All of these things, what full enlightenment and liberation really is, in a way that the Western mind can get the juice out of. On a personal level, Jim, this Swami has a student who's about to become a Swami down in Colombia, and someday this body is going to be down there. Would there be a way to get in contact with Master Juan? I would love.
Oh yeah, man. Anyway, I'm always facilitating people going down there and meeting with him. That's
excellent.
You know,
I'll just get a hold of you when
I do it all the time. And I highly recommend checking and hanging with the guy. He's super awesome.
Oh, for sure.
Doesn't have much to say, but he has a big smile.
Oh, that's all it takes.
Yeah. We just, sit beside each other and smile. That's all you need to do.
There you go. See, that's what some people get really wigged out about with the yogic traditions, because many of the masters were basically silent. You learned by osmosis, by being in their presence. It wasn't discourse and language.
Yeah, there's nothing
that stimulates the mind,
Transmission.
Yeah. Yes. We call it Shaktipat. Yes.
Totally. I've learned that heavily because, I speak Spanish pretty poorly. And quickly, it's really irrelevant, and some people have a hard time comprehending the depth of our relationship because of how poorly I speak Spanish, but it's irrelevant.
Yeah. Wow. I feel this way about my teacher as well, my brother, and the Lakota songs that he taught me and that I teach other people. It's amazing to hear. And it's also amazing that, the first non-Indigenous person to go to Sundance was also in the 70s. But that was also because Native religion was outlawed in America till 1978. So it wasn't until after the passing of Native American Religious Freedom Act that, people could start bringing those elements back out into more of an open area. And that's why women started to sing at powwows, is because there wasn't that danger of, the government as much still there. But, the FBI used to literally just go and ransack medicine people's homes and, things like that were common. And it was legal. It was legal, and people don't realize in America, what, having your religious freedom taken away really actually means and looks like.
Oh, totally.
They wax philosophical about it. Like, it means that you, don't have to pay for birth control. No, that has nothing to do with religious freedom whatsoever. Nothing at all. It's like,
Yeah, this is not that long ago. It's crazy,
Yeah, not that long ago. It is. Yeah, within my lifetime, I was 9 years old, and before, so 9 years of my life.
Look at the transition we are facilitating. Those of us gathered here are various different traditions. Jim, a Canuck, who is now an Ayahuasquero. Me, a macaroni and cheese eating kid from the cornfields of Illinois who grew up to be a Swami. Kira tapped into the Native American community and cultures. This is way cool. It's just so much fun to be a part of.
So that's you worked. It's Lakota that you've worked with or connected to.
When back in the 90s, I studied at a place called the University of Creation Spirituality, which was run by Matthew Fox, and he had teachers from every religion around the world, and I met my Lakota teacher there who adopted me, and he introduced me to my husband, and I sang with him, and I also studied with Russell Paul, who really helped me with my chakras and being able to actually open my chakras enough to actually sing, because my voice was taken from me. It was not there. And so I had that training with the with the chakras and the music and all that and the breathing. And then I was invited on a native drum, my brother, who adopted me, and then, you know, so now I have my own family drum that I'm the lead of, which is a huge political statement because I'm, you know, I am a person of mixed heritage, as many Americans are. I'm Scottish, English, Irish, and Choctaw, and women don't normally sing lead on their family drums or mixed drums in America because of the old laws against Native religion, and so it's not meant to be a political statement. It's just I'm the keeper of the songs, and so people just follow my lead, and that's just how it happens. It wasn't, you know, I wasn't meant to. I didn't mean to go, you know, get in people's faces about it. It's just what I was supposed to do, I guess. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. And now I have this radio show, which is awesome too, and things happen. It's amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
So, and I live in Virginia now, which is right on the border of West Virginia, and we live in the woods, and we have our own garden, and it's like a bird sanctuary here. We have every kind of bird you could possibly imagine, and my husband and my son are bird clan, so it kind of makes sense. And we were just talking today about ceremony and the naming ceremony for our son, where he was he received, and also it was illegal to name your child an Indian name in the Indian language as well. So a tradition arose of naming your child like a Christian name or an American name is what it's called, and then you would have a ceremony where you would get your name in your own language, in your Indian language. And so we had that ceremony for our son. It was like a 3-day ceremony. And what happens in the Potawatomi tradition is that you can't be named, you know, two people aren't named the same name at the same time because you are that person. That is who you are. And so the person who's going to name the person goes to the elders, and they give them a list of names of what's available. And then during the ceremony, the namer begins to know who this spirit is and figure out who it is. And so my son, on the third day, he was named Zaujigwe, which means yellow thunder in Potawatomi, and that was the moment where he also not only was Bird Clan by birth, but Thunder Clan when he accepted his name, and it thundered at that moment, and it was like a right over our house, and so now he always, you know, when it thunders, and he's like, oh, my people are here, and you know, and we started this drum so he could, you know, grow up around a drum and around the traditions and things. So.
How old is he?
He's 9 years old now.
Awesome. See, look at it. I love it. There's a lot of great kids rising up right now.
Yeah, I have so much hope, and because of he's got stuff figured out that I just figured out the other day and taught him, and he gets it. You know, it's like wow, it's great, beautiful. And I was not supposed to be able to have children, and you know, he healed me to come through me. So, and the doctors were like, holy crap, you know, we don't know how you got pregnant, but please don't try it again. So, yeah, they told me that I could die at any moment during the pregnancy, but I knew that he was coming and everything was going to be okay because I prayed for 14 years. For him.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's here now. Yeah. Representing at least four tribes, you know, and then 5 including his Celtic and.
Well, I'm sure there'll be a day that my daughters and him will share a ceremony somehow.
I hope so. That would be amazing. I'll tell you another thing. My mother is married to a man who she's been with for probably, I don't know, 30 years, since I was maybe 12 or 13. His family farm that he grew up on in Indiana is the very land that my husband's ancestors were kicked off of and sent on the Potawatomi Trail of Death. And my son is like grandfather. He's not And so through that connection, the land is going to, yeah. Then you can't plan shit like that either. Stuff like that happens. But, wow. And it was very, very difficult at first because I had no idea. And he was meeting but it took some time. And, my husband just, when he marries, your family just as much as blood when you marry. So my family is his family, and he acts like that. And so over the years, they noticed. So they're friends. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing that the land sort of has gone full circle.
Yes, it really is. I think about it a lot, and it's weird. He had the opportunity to go there, my son, actually last week, and he didn't want to go without us. He didn't want to go without his father, so he didn't go. Yeah.
Jim, the songs that you sing in the ceremony. Has one told you what's going on in those songs?
Well, I'm singing for the first. I'm singing the songs, the Icaros that I've learned from Juan, and plus kind of in my own ones that the plants have given me. And for the first 3 hours, it's it's in the Ashaninkan language mixed in with Spanish, and I'm basically invoking and calling in the plant spirits and the spirits of the water and stuff like that. So, you're basically activating the medicine, right? And calling in the spirits to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then around 3 hours in, let's say we drink at 9, around midnight or so, depending on the arc of the night, then I do the sublato. So that's the healing blow. So I go around the room and I use there's a perfume that Juan makes out of plants, and then there's the tobacco, the mapacho, and I do the sublato. So it's a specific kind of blowing of perfume and tobacco on the people. And then then after that I usually bring in I probably have around 30 or 40 English songs that have come to me over the years that I kind of bring in more at the end there to kind of land people and give them the vision and stuff like that, and help ground them out because they don't know Spanish or Ashaninkan and stuff. But so yeah, I mean it's funny you were saying about singing in your voice, is that when I started this journey, there's nothing more I was scared of than singing. The only song,
me too.
Yeah, the only song I knew. I remember my example was I was in Brazil in 2002 with a bunch of Brazilian hippies, and we were all hanging out, and they were like, "Okay, we're all going to sing songs." And they came to me, and I refused for like 20 minutes. I was like, "I don't know anything. I don't know." And I eventually sang "Happy Birthday" because that was the only song I knew. And then,
wow.
for me to go down this journey was like, it was my greatest fear, right? And it started with me playing Juan's CDs and singing with him through the ceremony, and then it started I would sing with him for maybe 45 minutes, and I'd go on my own. Now I can do a 5-6 hour ceremony by myself, and it's and your power as a healer is actually getting out of the ego and it's when I get in those states, I don't have a mind. I don't know what I'm about to sing.
Right.
I just go for it, and it comes out. So, and which is great though, because now I have a lot of people around me that are learning from me and stuff, who themselves are starting to sing for the first time, and it's nice. It's good. You kind of, potentially the whole world thing at some point. So, and I've even my voice is dramatically changed over the 8-9 years of doing this.
Yeah.
But so it's wonderful. There's something like that's all I do is sing now.
Yeah, me too. It's and songs come to me as well. I've made up quite. Yeah, they come to you, they come through you, and and our power is our voice, and that's part of the healing too, is the vibrational power of your voice.
Exactly.
And it's the spirits working through you too. I mean, being able to not only channel the sounds, but the breath and everything. But I'm amazed at some of the similarities between ceremonies, even though there's there's pipe ceremony, which is considered the most sacred of all ceremonies, the peace pipe, and there's tobacco in that, and some people will gather different roots and things like that to put in it, depending on what the situation is. But it's primarily tobacco, and which is thought of as having this power to carry your prayers for you to Creator. Yeah, and my brother used to say maybe the world is kind of messed up because there's all these people smoking tobacco, and it's such a powerful plant spirit, and they're talking shit about each other and thinking negative thoughts, and those are the prayers that are going up.
Totally.
And so I thought, wow. So he said, if you do smoke, just do it sparingly. I mean, that's always been the indigenous teaching about it, is that it's a very powerful plant spirit, and it should be used very sparingly.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, that's in the so in the Ashaninkan, so the word for what Juan is, he's not a shaman. Shaman's like a Siberian origin of a word.
Right.
He's a Sheripiari, which is the one who uses tobacco, and the mapacho, or the tobacco, it's considered it's the director of the whole healing process. So it's the tobacco telling the ayahuasca what to do. Ayahuasca is the force, and tobacco is the guide. And so I actually run two ceremonies. I run the ayahuasca ceremony, but I do a tobacco ceremony. And Juan makes and so the Peruvian tobacco is this Nicotina rustica, so it's kind of like the ancient tobacco. It's pure. They don't have lung cancer down there, and it's very, very strong. And Juan makes a concentrate, like a liquid concentrate out of it. And so in the tobacco ceremony, you drink the tobacco. It's a powerful purge, but I can do a tobacco ceremony with someone where they drink tobacco, and they'll have a more powerful spiritual experience than they will if they've been drinking ayahuasca.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I bet. Wow. Very powerful.
And that's kind of one of the reasons he says he comes here is because of the tobacco, because that's it's revered up here in the same way as it is down there. Maybe it's used differently, but it's revered in the same way. So it really, tobacco is kind of my main plant, and then ayahuasca. And it's definitely in the last couple of years, it's something I've coming to, I'm a Sheri Piatri. I'm one that uses tobacco, and I've kind of understood it more deeply now.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't realize how the similarities, I just kind of focused on what was being taught me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of in that chapter 1 we kind of end with tobacco, and that's where Juan is, he says he goes, I came to Canada to bring ayahuasca because ayahuasca and tobacco are good friends and they should be together. And that's so for him he wants to bring ayahuasca up here so it can be a companion of tobacco. On some level, I think what it does is perhaps the ayahuasca makes your prayers good, right? And therefore, those prayers and mixed with the tobacco are more powerful. Counter to this concept of smoking cigarettes and thinking crap, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I like that. That was a good.
I'm learning at the same time here. This is interesting, very interesting. Wow.
That when the Virginia company started to export the tobacco, they did so not knowing the consequences, or do you think that they were trying to corrupt the spirit?
I think it's like, were they conscious? Were they not? I doubt they were fully conscious. I think, but this is something like I did a film about, coca and cocaine, and coca. There's another sacred plant that's actually really good for you when you chew it, and we've done a wonderful job of taking sacred, powerful plants, commercializing them, and making them into kind of killers, right? At some point, the addiction to tobacco is an ancient spiritual relationship that has been kind of commodified, right? So, is it conscious or is it not? Who knows? But that's why we, so that rather than to be reactionary and be like, oh, dismiss, and that's what our cultures are now. Tobacco is bad for you. That's even worse because it's essential.
Yeah.
It's like we are designed to have a relationship with it, and we've evolved with it. And the irony that it's considered the chief of the healing process, but all our money is spent on keeping people away from it, and that it's the cause of all our illness is pretty backwards. So it's funny because in our film, the very last scene, Juan's talking about tobacco, and me and my friend Andre that made the film, we always joke that people will be watching the film saying, "This is great, but those guys, they just lost me at the end there about this tobacco," because Juan's talking about how tobacco is good to cleanse our homes. It's just, we've got a long way to go before we can convince people that, you should be smoking in your house. So.
But well, I suppose that they have, sprinkled it with some things that probably we shouldn't take in our homes. But if you're growing it yourself and you're connected to this plant spirit and you dry it and you cure it and you have this entire relationship with it, that really changes everything. And getting it commodified and sprinkled with poison,
And
that's probably the same for everything.
And the other thing about the tobacco is that, so ayahuasca has two plants, is the ayahuasca vine and the chacruna leaf. And the chacruna has the dimethyltryptamine and is considered the spirit molecule, right? And we all, we all naturally produce this in ourselves already, right? But we have these enzymes in our stomach that prevent it from being active. And so the vine is the suppressant of the enzymes, right? And that allows us to feel it. And as an ayahuasquero, you basically are full of this ayahuasca. You're always on the tipping point, right? And then the mapacho tobacco is just like the vine. It itself also suppresses the enzyme. So basically when an ayahuasquero goes to a tree or to you and blows the tobacco on you, it's like a little dose of ayahuasca vine. So they're basically activating that spirit channel between you and the tree or the person and something like that. So it's neat. I think there's quite a evolved science to it all.
Yes. Yeah. Based on thousands of years, I'm sure, of experimentation and yeah.
So now that various states are decriminalizing or even legalizing cannabis, do you think that the same commoditization of hemp is going to occur?
Well, I think from this point,
looking to the future, perhaps. But I actually have a lot of optimism for the very near future for dramatic, radical transformation. So I think it's all going to be fine. So.
Well, I mean, even if it just gives people the opportunity to go and get a hold of some hemp oil to cure all these cancers, then it's doing a good job, really, isn't it? It's
doing a great job.
Yeah.
And you can't think. When you commercialize something, this is one of the things that I think even I would like to one day learn the Ikara for hemp or marijuana, so I could sing to it, right? But I would need to do the specific diets with that plant. I've definitely used my marijuana in my life, not as much as I used to, but I would like to enter. I think that's part of the thing is we could go deeper into our spiritual sacred relationship with it, even those that are using it in a healing way. One of the things I want to teach is that a plant medicine has a specific power, but if you have the song of the plant and you sing to it and you blow tobacco into it, you charge it up with the spiritual power of that plant.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I just think
and the thing is about cannabis is it's already been commodified in a very horrifying, dangerous, and death-ridden way through the drug war. So let's try it another way. It has to be better if people aren't losing their homes and children because of it, and people aren't being murdered for it. That.
Well, in the ancient India traditions, Shiva brought cannabis from the Himalayas to South India to give to humanity to use as medicine, as food, and as fiber.
Yeah.
Period.
And it's been, this whole journey for me was my first plant that guided me was marijuana. So, for sure. Now I'm a little, I'm more focused on the tobacco, but I think I have a much more safe relationship with it now. So.
Well, we're coming to the end of the show, which has gone very, very fast. I think. An amazing. So, Jim, if you'd like to tell people where they could possibly watch Tom Kiri and any of your other sites that you'd like to tell us about.
Sure. Well, first of all, I just wanted to thank you guys. You guys are awesome. This is great. I haven't done an interview like this in a long time, or ever. You guys are awesome. And to see Tom Curie, I have it on my Vimeo site, which is, let me just go. If you just do a search for Sync Winnipeg, SYNC, then Winnipeg, and then maybe even Tom Curie, you go TNOKIRI, then you'll find the video. And that's kind of your portal to everything. You could go find the Sinkhole. That's Hole, WHOLE. But I'm not as active there as anymore. So the portal should be through my Vimeo site.
Excellent. Well, once again, thank you very much for joining us on today. It's been wonderful.
It totally has.
Thank you.
Looking forward to coming and sitting and smiling with you one day, Jim.
Yeah. Let's get together and smile.
And just remind people about Kira's show tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow from 2 to 4 Eastern, The Bridge with Kira, and I will have Janesh Scott. And you'll enjoy him. He's a wonderful guy. My Choctaw teacher.
And a little shout out for Jay's show as well, Swami.
Jay Parker, SRA Today. Let's see, that runs 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 to 8 Central. And just might be this Swami being interviewed. We'll see.
And join us next week for I think we're going to do a news bomb next week.
Cool.
Hope you all join us and have a lovely day, wherever you are.